It's time to up the stakes. I take my 2 stacks of medium society and head on over to the big game.
Sam, are you gambling with the Russian mobsters again?
Yes?
Rent is due tomorrow.
I win 54% of my sessions. What could go wrong? Outrageous. Welcome to episode 39. I am heading over to Grand Villa to fire two $1,000 bullets at the 2-5 game. Our bankroll is starting just a hair over $10,000. I'll bring you all along for the ride. I will see you all shortly. Welcome everyone. This is a 1-3 session I was sitting in while waiting for the 2-5. We're looking down a button straddle and 2 limpers, and I make it 25 with King Jack off. I meant to do 30, but I didn't realize that small blind had also called, but it folds around to the under the gun limper who makes the call. So we're heads up to a flop of Jack 9 7 2 spades. About as good as it gets with his hand. So when he checks it to me, I start with a small bet of 35. It's kind of small given how wet the board is, but he doesn't have too much behind, and he does make the call. So off to a turn, which is the 4 of clubs. He checks it to me. SPR is like 1.5, so we need to bet around pretty much half pot here, but I go a little larger at 85. I thought he had more in his stack, but doesn't matter anyways as he just jams all in. Nothing to do here but call. He didn't hit the 4, and he would have raised on the flop if he had a better hand, so we call. River is the 5 of hearts, I table, and he shows the Jack of clubs, so pretty nice little pot, and now we are off to the 2-5. Alright, our very first hand at 2-5, we are greeted by 2 red aces. We're looking out at a limp as well as a raise from early position to 25, so I 3-bet up to $80. Folds around to the original limper who does make the call, as well as the under the gun original raiser. So 3 ways to a flop, which comes down pretty bad. 8-7-3 with 2 spades. So when it checks to me, this is just going to hit them so much more than me, so I don't mind checking back here once in a while. So I do check this back. Turn is not great. It's another 8, and now the original limper leads out for 75. The razor folds, and nothing to do here but call. I think versus sizing, I don't even hate a raise, but I just call, and we're off to the river, which is the 6 of diamonds. Now my opponent checks it over to me, and I think we've got a very clear value bet here. I fire off 275. Looks alright. It's like 60%. My opponent doesn't think for long, though, and folds, so yeah, we're going to win our first pot at 2-5. Okay, we've downgraded our hand just a little bit to pocket jacks, and we're facing some pretty significant pre-flop action. Under the gun, 2+2 has limped, low jack has raised to 25, cutoff has called to 25, and then button has squeezed, but only to 90. So a little bit small, and I've got pocket jacks in the small blind. I don't like cold calling, especially out of position, so that leaves one option. I put in the cold 4 bets. I think 225 is a good size, about 2.5x out of position, and it's also about 25-ish% of my stack. Everyone folds to the button who makes the call, so we are heads up to a flop. And I gotta say, I am a little bit uncomfortable. It's definitely helped playing more and more, but you know, playing these pots out of position for quite a bit of money is a bit nerve-wracking. But we go to a flop of 6-5-4-2 diamonds. Beautiful flop considering it's a 4-bet pot. I definitely have the range advantage here. Betting is a little sketchy because my opponent can definitely have pocket queens and potentially kings and aces as a trap. And we can only really get value from like 10s and 9s, but I do think we want to deny quite a bit of equity from any sort of ace-king, ace-queen type hands. So I put in a small bet of only 150, about quarter pot. I like the sizing, and my opponent calls. Off to a turn, which is the 9 of spades. Not too great of a card, as now pocket 9s does beat us. And right here, I just wanted to jam all in, sort of like get the hand over with kind of thing, but that's not how we play poker. So I thought about it for a bit, and if I jam here, pocket 10s we get value from, maybe. I don't even know if we do. If he has the same hand as says pocket jacks, perhaps he could fold the chop. So those are the benefits to jamming. However, if he has queens, kings, aces, he's going to snap us off and we're dead. And if he has a hand like ace, king, ace, queen that we're just crushing, he gets to just fold. So he gets to play pretty much perfect against a jam. So I elect to put this hand into my check back range and see if he can bluff with, you know, ace, king, ace, queen. I'm not too worried about overcards coming. They've got like 13% equity. So I check it over to him. and my opponent fires off a bet of 275. Not feeling too great about it, but I do put in the call, and we're off to a river, which is the deuce of diamonds. Diamonds do get there. I'm not worried about them, as I do think he would just jam his flush draws on the turn, so I think that this is pretty much a blank unless he has ace 3 suited, which makes a straight. I check it to him. He goes all in. Nothing to do but call. And we hear the good news. He says you're good. So table my hand and win an over $2,000 pot. Buckle up for an absolutely wild hand. So, Under the Gun 1, who is a recreational player, has raised it up to 30. He's been doing raise sizes between 15 and 30, so a Under the Gun raise to 6x is quite concerning. The player to his left calls the 30, and I look down at Ace King offsuit in middle position. Little bit worried about Under the Gun, but can't be scared of monsters under the bed. I'm going to size up a little bit more than usual here just because I want to ISO him. So I make it 140. Folds around to the small blind, who cold calls the 140. So does the big blind. So does the original raiser. And so does the other caller. Yeah, we're 5 ways to a flop where I made it 28 big blinds pre-flop. Happens to the flop in a $700 pot with just ace king offsuit, and it comes down, I don't know, ace 10 9 with 2 spades. I'm expecting quite a few leads here, but it does check all the way to me. And on this board, cold calling ranges are like ace queen, pocket 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks, sometimes pocket queens. So I'm not feeling great about my hand here. I think it is pretty low in hand strength relative to the pre-flop action. So I'm just going to play a bit of pot control and check this back, as I really can't call a check raise here. Right, we're 5 ways. If I bet 200 and get jammed on, I pretty much have to fold. So I just check it back, hope for a clean turn, and that is not what we get. We get the 8 of hearts. Now Queen Jack has made it, as well as 10-8 suited, 9-8 suited. I'm not sure how often they're going to play 10-8 suited, but I think 9-8 is definitely in the range, as well as maybe 7-6 suited. But it checks to me again, and I'm definitely going to have to start betting to deny equity here. It doesn't have to be too big. I go about 1/3 pot, 250. Now small blind is in the tank. He counts out 250, then puts $500 on top of the 250, then takes the 500 off, and I am sweating this. If small blind raises, I definitely think that he could play a weaker 2 pair this way. Something like, 9-8 suited or 10-9 suited. Just because if he leads here, big blind, Under the Gun 1 and Under the Gun 2 haven't really had a chance to act as they checked the pre-flop aggressor on the flop. So I don't think he really wants to be betting these weaker 2 pairs into 3 essentially uncapped ranges. But now that they all have checked and I've bet here, I think he's got to be, feeling pretty good about his bottom 2 pair now. So I would probably fold against a check raise versus this player. However, he thinks better of it and folds. Big blind tanks for a little bit and also folds. And I was watching the 2 Under the Gun players, and both of them were just kind of like cross-armed waiting for the action to go. They look kind of bored and done with the hand, so I'm expecting to get this through. However, they both call. 3 ways to a river, hoping for a blank. I don't even know what I'm hoping for. I don't even think my hand is good at this point, especially after the river comes down the 6 of spades. Any 7 is now a straight. The spades do get there. Checks to me, and I briefly think about turning my hand into a bluff, but I don't know. I just check it back, get to showdown. I table my hand, and my opponents look reluctant to table theirs. And it's good. My ace king holds up in that 5-way pot, and we scoop another huge pot, 1450. What a start to 2-5. On to the next hand. Momentum is on our side. Under the Gun has raised to 20. Small blind is called, and I've got 5-4 of diamonds in the big blind. Sometimes I randomize between squeezing here and just calling, and this time this hand's mostly a call. So I just call. We go to an okay flop of Queen 8-7, 1 diamond. So we have a gut shot to the stupid end of the straight. I'm just going to check it over, and now Under the Gun bets 30. Small blind folds, and now it's back on me. Can't really call with this hand, and occasionally do want to bluff with it. And I will continue barreling just on diamond turns. So I raise up to 90, and he pretty quickly calls. Turn is amazing. Six of clubs. Um, I do want to have some very strong hands in my check range here, and I think the lower end of the straight makes sense. So I do go ahead and check, planning to check call, and then check raise all in on the river. Fortunately, my opponent does check this back. So we're off to a river, which is really good. It's another queen. My opponent most likely is going to have a queen here or an overpair. So I check it over to him, looking to check raise all in. Fortunately, my opponent is too smart and checks it back. We table our hand. It's obviously good here. But maybe miss out on a little bit of value, but I don't mind having some strong hands in my check back range just to protect it. Wrapped up that 2-5 session. Now we are once again waiting for the 2-5, and I'm jumping in some 1-3. So we're looking at a button straddle and two limpers, and I bump the 9-8 spades in middle position up to 30. Only the small blind calls, so we go heads up to a flop, which is pretty nice for my hand. It's 6-5-5, two clubs, and one spade. Small blind now leads for 1/3 pot, and I think calling is the best play here, so I just go ahead and flat. Turns pretty good. It's a queen of spades, so we do turn a flush draw. Unfortunately, though, small blind sizes up to 100 here. And while we're probably getting good odds to call, because if we hit, he's going to pay us, I just think the odds of him already having a boat are really high. Super annoying spot to have to fold this hand, but yeah, we're just going to let this one go. Final hand of 1-3 for this episode. I have pocket aces, which is generally considered a good hand, so I'm going to go ahead and raise this up to $12. Pretty high level stuff. Two players call, so we are three ways to a flop of queen, 10, 8, 2 hearts. I do have the ace of hearts, so it makes me feel a bit more comfortable. I'm going to start with a small bet here of 15 and only middle position calls. So we're heads up to the turn, which is the 8 of clubs. Not my favorite card, but it's pretty tough for him to call with another player behind, so I think I can keep barreling here. I bet 45, it doesn't have to be too big, and he calls. Off to a river, which is the 4 of spades. Beautiful. I think he's most likely holding is going to be either a flush draw, maybe like some sort of 10 jack kind of hand, or a queen. So we're going to target a queen as that's the most likely one that's going to call. I think I could have sized up a little bit more, but I just went for $95 here. Middle position thinks it over for a bit, and then calls. Our hand is definitely good here, I show, and sure enough, it is. First hand of 2-5, we're looking down an under the gun straddle to 10. Player to his left has raised to 30, and player to my right has called to 30. I've got pocket fives in the cutoff, and if we were 200 big blinds deep without the straddle, this hand occasionally does 3-bet here, or rather squeeze. But 100 big blinds deep, this is either a call or a fold. Since I'm in late position, I don't mind a call here as the chance being squeezed a little bit lower. And we do go three ways to a beautiful flop of jack 5-3 2 spades. Checks to me, I start with a small bet of 30. Original razor folds, but the hijack does make the call. Turn is the deuce of hearts. A little bit worried that ace 4 of spades, or even just like any ace 4 of diamonds kind of gets there on the turn. This player will never have 4-6. He's quite tight. So he checks to me, and I want to get stacks in. It looks like we're about 4 SPR, so I need to bet around 80% here. Bet 120, which looks good. And a little bit concerning when my opponent check raises to 305, leaving himself not too much behind. Yeah, he could have pocket threes here, so yeah, I guess we got to go with it. It's not the best feeling in the world because it's hard for him to have bluffs here, to be honest. Like, I just don't think he raises a flush draw here on the turn after not betting on the flop. But I go with it, jam all in. He calls, we're off to the river, which is really nice. It is another 3, so we boat up, and we only lose to quads and pocket jacks. And I table my hand, and he shows pocket jacks. Ouch. That one's not going to go our way. Okay, I have topped off my stack back up to $1,000. We're looking down at a limp, and I've got pocket kings in this small blind. I raise this up to 25. Big blind calls, and now middle position limp re-raises to only 100. We're quite deep. I definitely want to be putting in the 4-bet here. This player is a little bit crazy, but I did play with him once at 1-3, and I did get it all in pre-flop, but he had kings versus ace-king, so wasn't a limp re-raise though, but I make it 250, about 2.5x out of position. Looks good. Folds back. He thinks for 5 seconds and then shoves all in. This is tough. This is only like 5 hands after the set over set as well. But I talked to him. He seems really chatty, really comfortable. And I just can't be folding kings pre-flop. Can I? I don't know. My gut was telling me to fold, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't make the fold. I toss in the call. We go to a flop of Jack 10 deuce. Turn is a 5. River is a queen. We beat literally fucking nothing. I tail my hand, and sure enough, he does have the pocket aces. Oh, reload once again for another 1,000. We're in the game for 2660 or so. Back to war. Next hand, we have 8-7 of hearts. Button straddles live and small blind has completed. I bump it up to 40 and we get 2 callers. So we're 3 ways to a flop. It was okay. It is 5-3-3 with 1 heart. So it's going to miss most people. And we do have some backdoor straight, backdoor flush possibilities. So checks me to start with a small bet of 40. Button calls and small blind gets out the way. Looking for some help on the turn. We do get the 9 of diamonds. It's going to make it pretty hard for him to call with like a pocket pair, 6s through 8s now without a diamond. So I'm going to size up here with my gut shot to 110, planning to give up on most rivers. Button does make the call pretty quickly, so I'm pretty much done with the hand. But river's pretty good. It's the 8 of clubs. Now we're beating, 7s and lower. I don't think I get value. I don't think I'm going to be able to bluff him off anything better. So I just check it over, hoping for a check back. He's in the tank for a while and then checks it back. I'm feeling pretty good about my hand now. I table it, and sure enough, it's good. Looking down at a middle position limp, I raise ace-6 of diamonds up to 25, and only the limper calls. So we're heads up to a flop of ace-6-3 all hearts. Now she leads for $35. Raising's definitely too thin here, so I just make the call. Off to a turn, which is the king of spades. Now she checks it over, and I think her range now is going to be mostly just like the king of hearts, right? Picked up some showdown value, likes to check back on the turn, but I haven't played enough with her to know that she doesn't check back flushes here. Otherwise, I would just pot this turn. Yeah, because she's never going to fold, king, queen to the king of hearts. So I could even go up to like 150 here. But I'm a little bit worried that she could already have a flush and is going to check raise me. So I just go for a smallish bet of 65. I usually like half pot sizings on monotone boards on the turn, and she makes the call. Off to a river, which is the 10 of clubs, and she checks it to me once again. Very clear bet fold here, so I make it 85, just trying to target that, king of hearts. But unfortunately, she just folds right away. Okay, we got a button straddle. Small blind has limped, and big blind has made it 45. I have pocket 8s in early position. A little bit tough, but I'm just going to call here. Just hope that no one squeezes behind. Low jack also makes a call, and so does the small blind. So we're 4 ways to a flop of queen 8-6, rainbow. Flop middle set again. Now the original raiser goes ahead and bets out for half pot. Just going to set the trap here and call, and both other players fold. Off to the turn, which is the 6 of spades. Not too great of a card, as now we do lose to 6s and queens, but can't be that worried. Big blind sizes up here to 265. Nothing to do here but call. Off to a river, which is the 5 of clubs. So 7-9 got there if that's what I was chasing. And now he shoves all in. I snap call, and he rolls over pocket queens. No, I'm kidding. He says I'm good. I show, and we take down this 2.4k pot. So close to even after that hand. Nice. Okay, I actually had a tough decision on the river with this hand. Button straddle is live, and I make it $30 with king queen offsuit in early position. Middle position calls, and so does the button. So we are 3 ways to a flop of queen 10 8 2 spades. Definitely good enough for a bet here, so I fire $30, and middle position gets out the way, and button makes the call. Off to a turn, which is the 3 of clubs. Just gonna keep betting here. I don't have to go too big. Like, I don't mind a pot size bet, but I think with this hand, it's going to be better in like the 60% range. So I go 100, and the button makes the call. Off to a river, which is the king of spades. We make top 2, but the flush does get there. And I didn't really know whether I wanted to check call here, bet small, or bet large. If I do bet, though, I am most likely going to be folding to a raise against this specific player. Yeah, I just couldn't decide. So ultimately, I went with a smallish bet of 150. My opponent just snap raises to 350. Yeah, that one kind of sucks. We're just going to have to fold this. Nice hand. This next hand, we are looking down at a limper, a $15 raise from middle position. Button has called, and I've got Jack 10 off in the big blind. Seems okay. It'll play all right multi-way, and it's pretty cheap. I call, and under the gun also calls. So we're three ways to a flop of King, Jack, Jack, two diamonds. Check it over, and it checks through. So off to the turn, which is the seven of spades. I'm just going to play a little bit trappy here and check it again. And unfortunately, everyone checks until the button fires out 40. Pretty cool. I'm just going to lay the trap, call, and go to a river, which is the three of clubs. I check it over, and now she bets for $75, about half pot. Versus this sizing, I'm definitely going to go raise for value, so I make it 225. Mulls it over for a little bit, and calls. We table, and it is good. Picking up another pretty big pot. The very next shuffle, I pick up ace queen offsuit. Looking down at three limpers, I make it 30 in the small blind, and I get two callers from two of the limpers. So we're three ways to a flop of jack 10 7 all hearts. Got a gut shot and a decent flush draw, so I decide to use my hand as a bluff, and I fire out 30. Only one of the limpers calls, so we're heads up to the turn, which is the seven of spades. Not too much of a board changer, so I'm going to keep bet barreling here. I bet 80. And my opponent snap calls. So off to a river. And we get the king of clubs. Nice. We river the straight. I think if he's got us beat, he would have raised by now. He could definitely be trapping with a full house. Like a turn full house. I don't know. I can't really see him have a full house here. So I'm going to size up a bit, but make it so he can call. I bet 200. And pretty quickly calls. It's now straight, and we are good. This is also the same opponent. I had the 8-7 river to a8, so river this guy twice. Sorry, fella. Final hand of 2-5. I have pocket jacks in the cutoff, and I raise it up to 20, and only the big blind calls. So we're heads up to a flop of 8-5 deuce 2 spades. She checks it over to me, and I fire out a bet of half pot and get check raised to 100. That's a big raise. This was 1-3, I would just snap fold this. It wouldn't even take me a second to think about it. But this is 2-5. It's really nice to actually think about a hand. 8-5 suited is what I'm mostly worried about, but there's only three combos of that, and I don't even know if she calls them pre-flop. So I'm only worried about sets here, and I think that she's going to be over-bluffing this flop quite a bit. So I just toss in the call and go to a turn, which is the queen of clubs. Hoping she's not bluffing with a queen x flush draw, but she continues firing for 180. Nothing to do here but call, and now river is the queen of hearts. So if she did have 8-5 suited, it's now counterfeited, and she is quite deep in the tank. I am going to snap call any bet here. She's got me, she's got me. But she decides on a check. We definitely can't go for value here. I don't think she's check raising 9s or 10s here. So she's either got a boat or a busted flush draw / straight draw. There's just no point in betting here. So I check it back, and sure enough, she did have the king deuce of spades, and we're going to scoop this pot. That's it for episode 38. Let's go over some numbers first. I played about 4 1-3 sessions. They're very, very, very short while waiting for the 2-5 or just other things like that. And I booked a win of $106 across the 4 sessions. Then we hopped into the 2-5. We were in for 1,000, out for $3,286. That's a win of 2,286. Then we jumped another 2-5 game, and we were in for $2,660. Luckily, though, we were out for $2,230 for only a loss of $430. I will take that. After getting set over set and losing kings versus aces, to only lose $430 after that, I'm so happy with that. That's a huge win in my books. That is a total win of $1,962, which brings a bankroll from $10,011 all the way up to $11,973. Thank you so much once again for watching, you guys. I am having a blast learning this new variant. Deep stack poker is something that's completely new to me. I'm definitely quite new compared to most of my opponents, and I'm really enjoying kind of fumbling my way around trying to figure it out. So thank you for sticking along with me on this journey, and I will see you all in episode 39.